life and confidence coach Dianna Leeder, and this is my podcast, the Crave More Life Roadshow. It's here we talk about emotional hits and lovingly kicking our own asses to get through them. Just so you know, it always comes down to being your beautiful, sassy self, living and loving from you, no matter what. So join me to hear about the healing journeys of other women, and you just might become a DIY ass kicker too. Hey listeners, welcome back to the Roadshow. Certified sound healer and recovery coach Kelvin Young is my guest today. This is part of the Men of the Men's book series, so I hope you enjoy. You'll find Kelvin's full bio in the show notes. Welcome to the Roadshow, Kelvin. I think this is going to be a great chat. Eager to talk to you about the book, and there's so much more about you that just time-wise I couldn't fit in. But all your bio, and you got to read his bio, you guys. All of that will be in the show notes of the podcast itself. So I'm really happy that you're here.
Thank you so much, Dianna, for being here. It really is an honor and a pleasure to share this time, share this space with you and the rest of your audience as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
So I want to start with Transcendence. Just really that's what the book is about. And I know that, some of the other authors, everybody has a different take on it, just a little different, which I find fascinating. And I think will be really reflective in the chapters of the book. When someone is reading, they're gonna get something different, I think, from each and every chapter. So
Absolutely.
I'm curious about your definition of transcendence. What does it mean to you?
So when I hear the word transcendence, it's not a word that I normally use, but when I hear it, when I embody that word, I think of transformation. I think of the process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The metamorphosis of that experience, the transcendence of that experience, the transformation of that experience, and my experience, and the many men that's going to be sharing their stories in our book. To me, it really talks about the transcending from a place that we didn't want to be to a place that we transcended to become in, and it's a beautiful journey, very
Yeah.
beautiful journey. Yes.
Yeah, it is. And it's not without its bumps and bruises, but
Mhm.
yeah, it is a beautiful journey. And I love how you describe that. So yeah, the metamorphosis of a butterfly and,
Mhm.
from the caterpillar and yeah, and you're right. It really is that, shifting
Mm.
into something that is different and allows us to grow. I love that.
Yes, yes,
Cool.
absolutely. And just having that opportunity to kind of like reflect on my journey and how it really was a transformative experience for me and for many others that's going through different difficult moments, or whether it's addiction, mental health challenges, different struggles and challenges, and how we connect to the human spirit. And one of the things that I realized that the human spirit is resilient, and really connecting to that resiliency within us to help us to transcend to the place that we want to become. It is a process, as we know, but it's something that we all have within us to do if we choose to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Now, something that struck me when I met you and you told me your story
Hmm.
is that it really does seem that there are additional hardships that incarceration offers
Hmm.
to men looking to heal and
Yes.
transcend.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that, because that's a piece that I think people are going to want to understand.
Yeah. For me, after many years of battling with depression, anxiety and drug addiction, I found that freedom from alcohol, from marijuana, from cocaine, from heroin, and even prescription opiates like Oxycontin, Vicodins, and Percocets. And for me, I began that healing journey in a drug treatment program within prison. And it was within this prison program that I learned about the transformative powers of sound healing and meditation and yoga. And while I was incarcerated, I had a lot of misconceptions about these holistic practices such as sound healing and yoga. And to be quite blunt, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. I didn't see people of color practicing these modalities, so I really didn't think it was for me. But I know the things I was doing prior to going to prison, it just wasn't working for me no more. So I had to try something new and different. And while incarcerated, I was able to utilize these tools to help me to go within. And I truly do believe that healing begins from within. And by going within with these holistic practices, I was able to see the shame and guilt that often keeps people like myself in a very vicious cycle of addiction. And I was able to really connect to that, to really feel those feelings, and really kind of process it in a very healthy way. And learning these different tools to help me to do that, such as sound healing and yoga and meditation, allow me to look at my life in a different perspective. It allowed me to see that the things I was doing, the consumption of alcohol and other drugs, it was a way to kind of deal with emotional distress that I would experience in my life. And it took me going to prison. At least, I've been in prison a few times and I get out and I do the same thing over again. But my fourth prison sentence, something changed within me where I was, what we say, sick and tired of being sick and tired. And once I was able to surrender, if you will, to the process and learning to trust the process, even while being incarcerated. And having my daughter Tatiana, she was like my motivation. She was my inspiration for me to find an inner motivation to take advantage of all the programs that was available while I was incarcerated. And there's other places where people can transcend or do the healing work. But for me, in my own personal journey, it was in prison. And while I was there, I was able to begin doing the inner work I needed to do in order to find freedom from alcohol and other drugs. And being in the drug treatment program while I was there, it helped me to understand the science of addiction, understand how addiction affects the mind and the body, and also learn some tools to help me to do that inner work I needed to do in order to truly heal, at least begin the healing process for me while incarcerated.
Right. Wow. Wow. So, what's striking me about that is that, kind of thinking about what you just said and the book, because, when we think about just the pressures and the social influence that society places on men,
Hmm.
and that certainly is something that has been magnified time and time again by these chapters. As I read them, I thought, oh, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and when we kind of follow those, we can be defined as as what we are expected to be, and
Hmm.
and whatever that is for that particular individual. But
Hmm.
when I think about that relative to incarceration, I think of how, like, my first response is, I think that's amazing that those kinds of programs are offered. And I hope that, so many men will take advantage of them. They're not, I don't imagine that's something that gendered perspective or influence would be really supportive of, generally I'm
Hmm.
speaking, so I'm very happy that
Hmm.
they do. And yeah, I hope it's more widespread than just kind of, just a few people picking it up.
Yeah, and being incarcerated and dealing with um, just the atmosphere, the environment of being incarcerated, being in prison. Oftentimes as men, we have to wear these masks, and not the COVID-19 masks I'm talking about. I'm talking about those metaphorical masks that we have to wear to really hide from expressing our raw human emotions. We have this bravado, we have this tough guy mentality we have to uphold while incarcerated. So therefore, doing holistic practices such as meditation and sound healing, it was viewed as something that women do,
Right.
and at least for myself and other people, and making yourself vulnerable, making yourself, it didn't feel safe at one point, you know what I mean, to do these practices,
Hmm.
but I had to move past those misconceptions, move past the fear, so to speak, and be courageous to really work on myself. And once I was able to do that, I realized how powerful, how transformative these holistic practices was in my life. And then I was able to take off that mask, so to speak, and really and show my true authentic self connect to the inner aspects of myself and able to really do the work that I needed to do, and understanding underneath my addiction was the unhealed emotional pain that I experienced in my life, the unprocessed trauma that I endured from childhood, from adolescence, and even adulthood, but also the intergenerational, ancestral, or racial trauma that I experienced, my
Hmm.
ancestors experienced, and
Hmm.
how that trauma has been passed down from generation to generation to generation to me
Hmm.
because I believe those issues live in our tissues. Just the mere fact of how my ancestors, my family member, came from the western parts of Africa, particularly in Nigeria, the Congos, Mali, and and being enslaved, coming from western parts of Africa to the Caribbeans to the Carolinas, where my parents from, just that experience alone was very traumatic. But never
Hmm.
mind the centuries of slavery, the racist Jim Crow laws, the public lynchings, the police brutality, all these different things that black folks has endured, my ancestors has endured in America, in the United States in particular. It was just very traumatic. And how those issues live in my tissues, and how racial trauma and trauma in itself, how it shows up in people, particularly men. And I wasn't able to express my emotions, my fears, all these different insecurities that I had growing up in this culture, in this environment in the United States. So therefore, for many years, I suffered in silence. And the only emotion that I was able to express in the culture and these dynamics was anger. And that anger quickly turned to rage when I was under the influence of alcohol and other drugs. And hence it got me into a lot of trouble and got me in and out of prison. And I got caught up in a very vicious cycle that many people with inmate numbers get caught up in, that recidivism statistic that I endured for many, many years.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Yeah, there's a whole lot packed in there, isn't there? Like
Yes,
it's not like we wake up and we, become one person for one reason.
right.
And when you consider the ancestral piece, oh my gosh, that's just,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a lot forward and back in our ancestry line, right? Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that you said that really I found really interesting was
Hmm.
that you really had to accept something different in order to really engage in those kinds of supports that you did, the meditation and the yoga and that kind of thing. You had to accept that as an option for you.
Yes.
So I find that fascinating because we all kind of reach that point, right, where
Hmm.
okay, it's on us.
Hmm.
We need to decide what direction we're going to go in, what path we're going to follow, and yeah. So what was
Yeah.
it that really was it your daughter? You mentioned your daughter earlier. Was it your daughter that kind of made you go one direction or the other, or influenced you?
Yeah. Yeah. She was that kind of like that energy behind the changes, and she see me in and out of prison. She see me intoxicated. She see me under an influence. I caused a lot of trauma in her life, and I never forget laying on my bunk bed in prison. Think about all the pain that I've caused to her and to other family members and the people that really truly cared about me. So that thought alone, it just really created a lot of energy within me or motivation, I would say, that inspiration to really take advantage of all the program that was available while I was incarcerated, and I know that it had to come to a point where I had to take personal responsibility for my health and well-being, personal responsibility for the choices I made in my life, and how can I learn from them? How can I grow from them? And how can I move forward in a way um, that's less harming to myself and to other people? And I was sentenced. I had to be in prison. So I had to be there. So I wanted to utilize my time wisely because I had a release date. It was a couple of years, but I had a release date. So while being in prison, why not utilize that time to better myself? So when I
Hmm.
do be released from prison, when that still gate opens, I'm able to have some skills and have some resources available so I won't get caught up in that revolving door, as they often call it, in prison.
Right.
And just being in that drug treatment program and understanding myself a little bit more, understanding addiction a little bit more, but also having concrete tools to help me to address those emotional distresses that I've been experiencing. I didn't realize that it was a vicious cycle that I was in with my emotions and with my feelings and my behaviors. And I wasn't able to see it until I went within. By practicing meditation, by practicing sound healing, by practicing yoga, I was able to see a lot of things that I didn't see before. Because I learned we don't know what we don't know until we know it, until it
Right.
becomes consciously aware. And that's the power of sound healing. It allowed me to go from that waking state that I'm in right now, and in the scientific terms is known as the beta state of brainwave activities or states of consciousness. And when I train with the sounds, vibrations, and tones and frequencies from the Himalayan singing bowl, or the crystal singing bowl, or the gong, or the different other healing instruments that's used in sound healing, it takes me from that waking state of beta down to an alpha state, which is, a relaxed state. And oftentimes, many of us go deeper into that theta delta state, which is a more deeper meditative state. And it's when you're in that theta state of brainwave activities or states of consciousness, we have the opportunity to dwell into that subconscious realm, where I believe all our power is truly at. All our traumas, our core woundings, all our conditioning and social engineering from our culture, from our parents or our caregivers, from our educational institutions, from our society, all that is stored in our subconscious awareness. And through sound healing, it takes us from that waking state down to the subconscious state, and we have opportunity to process a lot of stuff that's going on in there. So all the stuff that's unknown to the conscious mind, when we go down to that subconscious state during meditation or sound healing, we have that opportunity to bring what's subconscious conscious. So we
Right.
can have that possibility to make what's unknown known. And I think one of the greatest powers we have as human beings is the power of choice. But we don't know what we don't know until we know it. And when it comes to that conscious awareness, we have the power to make some changes in our life that resonate with our greater good. And that's what I had an opportunity to do while I was incarcerated.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because when you're in that state of, quiet consciousness, you
Hmm.
are, you're not responding to or reacting to what's happening around you. You're
Yeah,
you're reacting to here, aren't you? Responding to here. Yeah.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. I love that. That's really nice. So, what made you want to be a contributing author in this book?
Well, I felt the need to really share that story on a broader level, on a broader scale. And what to do, what better way to do this is to share it with other men that's, transcended their life and have a powerful story to tell. And I believe that human beings, we all have a powerful, powerful story to share. And to me, that was makes humanity just so unique, just so intriguing. We're all part of the human race, but like we all have our diversity. We all have our uniqueness, which makes it very interesting. And men, we have our own sets of traumas and issues and things that oftentimes we suffer in silence. But when we're able to speak about that, particularly in a culture that kind of like, want us to suppress our emotions and their feelings, but when we're able to share that with other people, share it with the world, I think that's very powerful. And having this opportunity just to share it with 19 other powerful stories of great men that's transcended their lives, it was just a no brainer, and I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to be accepted to really share my story because I believe many people can relate to addiction, whether they impacted by addiction themselves or a loved one or a family member. We all know someone that's been impacted by addiction. And, we hear about the opioid epidemic, particularly in the United States and all over the world, really. And we understand the effects, the negative effects to addiction. But there's another side to addiction I wanted people to know, which is called recovery. And, and just my transcendent from being a drug addict, to a sound healer. I think that's a powerful story that people can relate to. Whereas, we've been in the throes of addiction, but we can transform into the person that we truly were meant to be in this world. And this is what I had an opportunity to share within the book, which I'm so honored to be able to share it.
Well, we are honored to have you, and your story is amazing. Your chapter is amazing. You guys
Thank
have to
you.
get the book and make sure you read this because yeah, it's really something.
Thank you.
Yeah, the personas that men have to or are expected to hold up and not show weakness and
Hmm.
that kind of thing are so debilitating
Hmm.
and unfortunate. So when anybody speaks out, and I think that's what the book represents really is, all of you speaking out about what your experiences were and how you changed that dynamic.
Yes.
You decided that no, you weren't going to react to that stuff anymore. You weren't going to
Hmm.
do as what was expected. You were going to do what felt right for you in your heart, which
Yes.
is, yeah, quite beautiful. And I think it's something too, and you know this as well, that part of the reason that these books are in place is for a reader to be able to connect with someone's story
Hmm.
and be able to turn whatever they may read into some self-awareness for themselves. So I think there will be many opportunities for that in this book. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I totally wholeheartedly agree, And yeah, I think, just all the things that all the experiences that men go through, there's each chapter can have something. There's some similarities to each chapter, but also some uniqueness and differences that all of us um, can relate to as men, but as human beings in general, but particularly as men, we're able to like kind of read the story and be like, wow, I can relate to that, and read the next story and read the next chapter. But oh, I can see myself in that experience as well too, and finding not only it's important for us to talk about the problems, but really focus on solutions as well too. And that's what the book offers. We address the issues that men deal with in our lives, but we also talk about solutions, the way to transcend those difficult moments, those difficult, challenging experiences that we go through as men in our society. So, very powerful, powerful book to read.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is. I agree. So, what do you think that women will get from this book?
Mm. Women, if they have men in their life, whether it's their father, their daughter, their son, uncle, cousins, brother, their partner, husband, boyfriend, they're able to like kind of take in the wisdom and see a unique perspective that men go through that oftentimes we don't share with our partners or our significant others, with our family members, with our friends. Whereas I think we could shift the way we kind of see and view the experiences that men go through, and we could look at it from a different perspective. I think it's very powerful. I think Albert Einstein said it best when he said you can't fix a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. So I think this book is a very powerful way to really shift the way we see ourselves, the world, and the people in it, whether it's us as men or as women, as we view the experiences that men go through in their lives. So just really it's a great opportunity just to see things from a man's point of view that you can really take in and like look at it from just a different lens, and whatever role that a man plays in your life, you can see it you can see them in a different light. You can see their experience, the things they go through, the things they say, the things they do, or the things they don't say, and the things that they do. You can really understand. So this is an opportunity to understand the experiences that men go through.
Awesome. And I can see that, as partners, whether it's, men, women, or whatever the partnership is,
Hmm.
when you are close with someone, then you can see their triggers. You
Hmm.
can you may not entirely understand them,
Right.
but you can see the outer behavior that comes from those triggers.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great for women as well. I think that,
Hmm.
of course it's going to be magnificent for men, but I think it's going to be really good for women and partners of men to
Yeah.
be able to take a look at that and know that, you know, this person isn't doing this because they are just being mean. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I could use other expletives, but but we'll be polite. Yeah, that's not why that's happening. There's something under that, and hopefully it will guide both partners to get some work,
Yeah.
their own work. Yeah.
Yeah, this book is an opportunity for people to learn and grow and evolve from the experiences that we share in these chapters. Whether you're a man or woman or non-conforming, trans, doesn't matter. We're human beings and we're able to see things from a different perspective by reading these chapters and really understanding and really read to understand and how we can relate this to the other people that's in our life, the other men and masculine people that's in our lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, Kelvin, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, I just encourage people to if you get the opportunity to pick up the book and to really understand our unique experiences. And for my particular experience with addiction, is that people do recover. And I do believe in the power of connection. That connection, I believe, is the cure for feeling of loneliness, isolation, depression, and different other types of emotional distresses that we experience on this journey that we call life. So you may have a family member, or a loved one, or a partner that's dealing with so much difficulties in the throes of addiction, but the hope is always there. Healing is always there, and we have to do it within the community. Because when we feel disconnected, from ourselves, disconnected from our body, disconnected from other people, disconnected from our higher power, we're going to connect with something. Whether it's a substance or a behavior or a person, whatever the case may be, we're going to connect with something. So therefore, we have healthy people in our lives, healthy connections in our life to help us to go through life on its terms. That's very powerful and healing for us. So I just want to encourage people that if you have a loved one that's struggling with addiction, that help is available, treatment and healing is possible. And
Mm-hmm.
there's over 24 million people in the United States alone that's in sustained long-term recovery, and I'm grateful to be one of them.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome.
Yes.
I really appreciate that, Kevin. I
Mhm.
do. Yeah, and I love that emphasis that, you know, whether it's addiction or whatever the issue is,
Mhm.
yeah, you can deal with it. You can manage it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, with
Yes.
support and connection. That you really
That's
got me with
right.
that with the connection piece because I believe that too very
Yes.
strongly. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, perfect. Okay, well, I thank you so much for today. I
Thank you
really
for having me.
appreciate.
Mhm.
Well, you're very welcome. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I appreciate how candid you have been,
Thank you.
and I think that the listeners are going to get a lot out of this for sure. So,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
thank you. I
You're very
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you for having me, Diana.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. So, listeners, just remember, and I know I say this every time the show is finishing, but just remember that just by showing up today and listening, you are kicking your own ass. So, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. If you like today's podcast, hit subscribe at the bottom on your way out and come find me at cravemorelife.com for even more DIY ass kicking.